The Globalization Pipeline Service is a service in IBM Bluemix, and it can be found under the Lab section. It's currently experimental. When added to your space, it provides machine translation for strings within your application and a dashboard where you can view your projects. You can review the translated strings and provide human translation updates. When the application is built, it is going to download the most recent or the best changes. So in the case where there's no translation, machine translation. In case of an update, the updated value. To get started, you can look at one of our examples, in this case the secure containers example. One of the stages in this will include globalization, and simply click the Deploy to Bluemix button. This is going to make a copy of the project, including the application source and the pipeline definition. I'll have a look at the pipeline. The first stage in the pipeline is the globalization stage, as that's going to provide the machine translation and insert that into the source of the application. Here I've identified the source file. Of course, if you want to set one up from scratch, that is reasonably simple. Here I have my messages property file, and I'm going to create a new stage. I'll call this stage the globalization stage, and the input will be the source repository. I'll set it up to automatically trigger. A job within the globalization stage I'll call machine translation, and we'll select the globalization service from the builder pull-down. I'll select an organ space that I want the service bound into, and I can optionally set to have the space set up for me. If I select this, an application will be created in my space, and the globalization service will be bound to that application. I've identified the resource file I want translated. This will search the source for any instances of that file and download the machine translated or the human reviewed files into the same directory as the source. As the stage is running, I'll have a quick look over in Bluemix. Because I selected to have this space set up for me, an application will be automatically created in this space. This is called the Pipeline Bridge application, and it is used to get the authentication to the globalization service. The service has also been added, and my stage is now completed. Have a quick look at the logs. Scrolling through the logs, I get to see all the downloaded translation files, and at the bottom there is a link to the globalization dashboard. This is also accessible from the Bluemix service tile. I can see the project that was created, and once again I have the option to edit those translations. In the artifacts, this is the output of the build. You'll now see that I have translated files for each of the languages. The output of the globalization build can then be used for the input to your traditional builds. In this case, I'll quickly create an ANT build. I'll call the stage package application. The input is the globalization job, and I'll simply run ANT. It is done this way so that the output of the globalization can feed the input to the packaging job if you want to include the source in the application archive.